stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say, 'cause we don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say, no one will love you as you are. But I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send the blood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me. Another round, it's my speed. Well, fire away, 'cause today I won't let this shit in. We are bursting through the barricades and breaking apart the sun. That's what we do. Won't let them break me down. I know that there's a place for us. Oh, we're glorious. Shots fired wanna cut me down. I'm gonna send the blood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send the blood, gonna drown them out. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be. This is me.
Community is medicine and connection is the answer. You see, I have known this to be a core truth, a value that I hold, because growing up, it was not something that came easy to me. When I was a young girl, I felt like the alien born into a family where women just didn't understand me. I just seemed to be so distinctly different. And I remember feeling a lot of shame and guilt about that. It seemed so much more difficult for me to be seen and heard the way I desired to, compared to what I could see around me. This narrative started to get reaffirmed as I grew up and was challenged by moments of misconnections in sisterhood. I'm from Calgary, Alberta, and I moved from the Northeast to the Northwest. And in Calgary, we are split up in 4 quarters. It is not something you do if you don't live in the Northeast, you don't go to the Northwest, sort of thing. So there are different things happening in different quarters of the city. I was in grade 4, and in the Northeast, New Kids on the Block and fluorescents were all the rage. So I showed up my first day of school in my gorgeous fluorescent jacket and my New Kids on the Block backpack. and I was waiting to get into school. And for what looked to me like a gaggle of blondes, I got surrounded and totally berated. How dare I mix that backpack with the fluorescents? I remember the shame I felt that day. It felt like hot, searing metal on my back. I couldn't wait to get those clothes off. I just wanted to fit in. It was something that just seemed to be square peg, round hole kind of thing. Fast forward to many moments in my life where that seemed to be my reality. My best friend was a frenemy at best. It was competitive. It was gossipy. It always felt misaligned and yucky. And when I turned 18, my social group that I had had since I was in junior high told me I was no longer welcome to hang out with them. I remember that moment so clearly in my life because I really truly thought my life was over. I remember going to my mom's bed and feeling feelings of anxiety and depression. And I remember saying to her, don't call anyone or send me anywhere, because the shame we feel about mental health. But I feel sad. And unfortunately, in that moment, my mom wasn't able to be responsive, and she barely took her eyes off the TV, and she just sort of patted my leg and said, there. I remember thinking how afraid I was. How was I going to get through the next few years of my life? I felt so alone. It was this beautiful moment where one woman in my life rose to the occasion and made sure that I felt safe, loved, and secure. And it was a very beautiful, transformative moment for me. Fast forward of going through university and then finding my career and my passion in naturopathic medicine. And for the first time, feeling like I belong somewhere. I cared about popularity so I could figure out how to fit in. I knew what social norms to meet and what to say in order to be accepted into the crowd, but I never belonged anywhere in my life until I met my friends in naturopathic medicine. And at the very moment, I remember it felt like this magical unicorns and rainbows, fireworks, bliss. And I thought, do people know how amazing it is to belong? Like literally anything is possible now. I was safe to be self-expressed. My whole life transformed because for the first time I belonged. I know that has become my impetus for my passion and serving in the way that I do, because I literally hope that every woman understands the power of connection and sisterhood. If they had a similar story to me growing up, then I wanted them to know a different way. Fast track to getting married, having children, having a beautiful life, an amazing practice, growing this amazing thing called the Wild Collective, and making it all the way to last December and totally burning out, making mistakes, feeling way in over my head. And again, it was sisterhood that carried me through burnout, giving me permission to surrender and rest and find a more innovative way. I am never uninspired or just totally impressed by the power of sisterhood and connection. Yes, I'm happily married. Yes, I have healthy, awesome children, amazing family, but it has been sisterhood that has been the key fundamental piece to helping me through. The other piece is knowing how to help and articulate for my body when it's speaking to me. And this is what we want to talk to you about tonight, because this is how we want to show up and impact and know that women have permission to crave and desire in the way that we have wanted to in these moments. The Wild Collective is where you find your pack, your tribe to reclaim your wild. So it's important that we define this a little bit for you, because you might be like, Wild Collective, what are we even talking about here? To be wild means to break free of the archetype of being all things to all people at all times. It challenges the status quo. Wild women are deeply intuitive and connected to their divine feminine power. And collective, we define as a human social group. What we're doing together is challenging the status quo. We have our own culture and we are definitely creating a movement. Welcome to the Wild Collective. So what does it mean to be wild? It is this reclamation of what is already within you, meaning that everything you have ever known to be true, you desire, is already ready there. It just needs to be unlocked. It needs to be remembered. It recognizes your power and innate intelligence. You transform your pain and turn it into your legacy. The wildish woman is by nature intense and talented. Oh, ooh. If at any point, I'm just going to load this into the chat. You guys feel free. We'll answer all questions at the end. We'd love to engage with you all. Please feel free if you feel so inclined. We only have 40 spots available. You can sign up and join us whenever you would like. We've got some bonus offers that are amazing. So you're going to want to hang out till the end to learn what those are and to get access to that code, but we want you to have everything that you need. So at the cultivation or creation of the Wild Collective, I was reading this incredible book, The Women Who Run with Wolves. And if you haven't read that, I highly recommend it. And this book talks all about this beautiful concept of the mistaken zygote. And when I found that, it really defined my experience, my early experience as a woman. I felt your family thinks you're an alien. You've asked yourself, why am I so different? Why am I born into such an unresponsive, strange family? You have a desire to be good and fit in. Your family moves slowly and you move like the wind. All you want is love and all they want is peace. I know that look in my mom's eyes where it was like, could you just get in line? And all I was doing was trying to get her attention to feel worthy of love. The feral woman. The feral woman is this creature once wild, then domesticated, who is reverted back into her natural untamed state once again. Overly domesticated, she has deadened proper instincts. Her cycles and protective systems have been tampered with. No longer wary and alert, she easily becomes prey. Tempted by lures, relationships, people, ventures that kill our spirit. I think we all can think of moments where certain gold, shiny things distract us from what it is we're after. If you were at our talk earlier this morning when we were talking all about asking those 3 crucial questions, this is where when we start to reclaim our wild and get deeply in touch with who we are and what we crave, this becomes a lot easier. We're not as easily tempted by distractions. You have a starvation of the soul. If you have a desire to create, it is likely you have been or are a feral woman. The Wild Collective started off as this beautiful in-person experience where 20 women sat together in a closed group, shared, showed up, learned a fundamental women's health curriculum, and we blissfully watched them transform and step into their power and own who they were. We saw shame and guilt and all of those things just trickle away. Then a global pandemic happened and we had to make a quick pivot. And we went from the in-person experience to the virtual experience. And what was so beautiful about this is that we learned that, one, we were able to really recreate and implement the entire program in a virtual space. And what women loved about this was the fact that they were able to be in the comfort of their own home. It increased their comfort level with sharing. It allowed for them to be in their pajamas and just shut off and go to bed at the end of the night. It provided an innovative way for us to get connection. And I think we can all agree that we've never needed connection more. We might need to be physically distanced right now, but what our soul craves, what our human tendency and desire is to be connected, to have meaningful conversations. And that's definitely what we deliver on in the Wild Collective. Wild Collective is where you meet your power so that you can become it. So I haven't introduced myself yet, but my name is Dr. Michelle Paris, and I am a naturopathic doctor, and I have been practicing in Oakville, Ontario for the last 12 years. I am the clinic director of the Poppy Clinic. I am the host of the Rebel Talk podcast, and I am the creator of the amazing women's health initiative, the Wild Collective. I am a born self-identified rebel. No, I am pretty rebellious. I am a wild woman who craves deep fulfillment. I've been on the journey to reclaim my wild since I discovered what that even was. I'm a total science nerd at heart. I have a quirky way of delivering that health information, which I like about myself. I'm also a mom of 2 awesome children. My son is going to be 10 years old tomorrow. I can't even believe it. And my daughter, Miss Wild Woman, is 8, and she is the remembrance of what it is to be in our wild, to know our power, and to have an unapologetic way of showing up in the world. I am a naturopathic doctor with a clinical focus in women's health, pediatrics, hormones, and digestion. And I have a core belief that women are wise and wild beings who crave community and thrive when they discover their own power and get clear on their purpose. That's me on the end there with the smirky face. I had some sass. I was the oldest of 3 of us for a long time. There's my sister and I growing up, trying to be good and orderly and compliant in the face of inner or outer peril in order to hide a critical psychic or real life situation de-souls a woman. It cuts her from her knowing, it cuts her from her ability to act. Our family of 3 went to eventually a family of 5 when my dad remarried. There's a huge spread. My youngest brother is going to be 18 or 19 very soon, and I'm going to be 40 in 2 weeks. And it was such an amazing opportunity to have so much like family energy and history around. And this is my family, and we love Disney. We're crazy passionate about it. I'm probably going to tell you about Moana at some point. If you haven't seen it yet, that's your homework. But this is my pride and joy, my why I do what I do. Within every woman, there is a wild and natural creature, a powerful force filled with good instincts, passionate creativity, and ageless knowing. Her name is Wild Woman, but she is an endangered species. This is me and a couple of my friends at an event a few years ago. Even though after naturopathic medicine, I had found sisterhood and literally felt like I could accomplish anything, that anything was possible, I obviously had old programming that still existed, those old belief systems that repeat in our mind that sisterhood isn't safe, that it's not safe to be self-expressed, that, you know, women are competitive and not to be trusted. At this event, it was a big, big day. I'd just been interviewed for a really big podcast. It was a really proud moment for me. And there was going to be some notably big names at this event. Dave Asprey and Mark Hyman. And I had decided in my head that we were going to get this fabulous photo and it was just going to be a real day for me. So I wore my nicest outfit. It's all white, as you can see there. If you know anything about me, that should be illegal. I'm the clumsiest person I know. And as soon as I get there, I'm so excited and I'm walking with my coffee and I'm pumped and I see my friend and I walk a little faster to get to her. And of course, within minutes of being there, I had a coffee stain right dead center of my chest. And I was like, great. Yeah, this is perfect. I'm nowhere near my home. I don't have clothes. I Ubered here. Day's ruined, right? As we think these silly things. This may sound trivial, but I promise I have a point. So we go to the bathroom immediately. We're hanging out there. We're putting soap where the coffee stain is. I'm hanging out under the dryer. We're trying to dry this thing. It's getting worse. It now has a soap ring around the coffee stain and I'm sweating and I'm like, this is awful. Like I'm making this so much worse. And then this woman who's in the bathroom was like, who's been helping me for like 5 or 10 minutes, by the way, like gem of a human. And she was like, isn't that a bodysuit? I was like, well, yes, it is. She was like, couldn't you just flip it around? And I was like, oh my gosh, I give this woman a big hug pre-COVID. It's totally normal to do this in the bathroom. She went on her merry way. I turned my bodysuit around. I had strings in regions I never want to talk about again. I was horribly uncomfortable for the rest of the day, but my day was solved. I never even got the fabulous photo, but it was okay. Why this was important to me was this was a moment of affirmation where I knew my story was changing. I no longer saw women as out to get me. I no longer saw a competitive nature. I truly believed in my heart and my soul that women were there to support each other, to link arms, to problem solve, and get us through challenges and rise together. That is the thong story. But it's so key, right? Because it's so amazing to look at those moments and go, wow, the world around me hasn't changed. I've changed. When wild women speak, you listen. She does not need to shout to be heard. She simply does not fake it. She simply can't. She does not please others to gain false pleasure. She does not shy from pain. That is where her warrior goddess grows. She sways her hips to create feminine power. It is she that needs to be at the table. It is she who needs to be let out. I never got to meet Dr. Mark Hyman, but I did get to be a part of his amazing Broken Brain 2 docuseries, in which we were featured to talk about our Women's Health Initiative, and talk about the science of social connection. A really proud moment for me. We have, in our clinic alone, grown this into this beautiful event, this way in which we help women have access to care and support in a much more sustainable fashion. And this has allowed us to grow and amplify and have incredible women involved in what we're doing. And the woman I would like to introduce you to right now is your facilitator, Diana Castleman. She is just a total delight. She's so brilliant and articulate, and you will see that in a moment. She has been passionate about this project since she learned about it. She stayed connected with us all through her education, which to me, she just really chose to stand out. And I'm really excited to welcome her to our team and to have her show up in this capacity. So I'll pass it on to the beautiful Diana.
Thanks for the lovely welcome, Michelle. So some women are lucky to find sisterhood early in life, and for some it can take a lifetime. One thing I know for sure, though, is that it's worth the wait. My family and I immigrated to Canada in 2000. I was 6 years old at the time. I didn't know any English. This is a photo of me and my first friend in Canada. She's still my best friend to this day, and I'm so grateful to the teacher who forced her to play with me because no one wanted to play with the new girl who didn't know English. I was the girl who got bullied most of my childhood. I was bullied in grade 3 for my arms being too hairy, so I started waxing at the age of 9. I was the girl who got bullied because she pronounced words differently, because it's how my parents would say it at home. They had to learn a new language, English, in their late 30s. So what I did is I turned away from my parents and blamed them for their mother language. And I would be angry for not having quote unquote normal parents. I was the girl who got bullied for being different. Therefore, I did everything in my power to fit in. Make yourself fit into the system. That's what I told myself. I began drinking in grade 10 and would get drunk at parties just so I could be invited to future parties and be part of the popular crowd. I turned my back on some of my closest friends because they weren't making me popular. I tried so hard to be anything but myself because I wanted to fit in. That's the thing about being young. We are so vulnerable to other people's opinions of how we should act, what we should wear, and what we should say. Getting bullied in this way made connection very difficult for me. I was afraid to open up and be myself. Growing up, I always felt like I had missed the boat, both at university and my professional schooling. I had joined groups after everyone had already connected and got to know each other, and I always felt like the outsider. I looked at every single year in every cohort and thought, wow, they're so lucky to have each other. The girls that I was a part of, they would have a group chat and laugh and text each other during class, right in front of my face. I was not part of that group chat, even though I could have easily been added to it. I wouldn't be tagged in posts on social media or invited to go out, and it hurt. It really hurt. I understand myself differently now. I understand now that all this time I was different, but that it was a gift. It wasn't a punishment. I now understand that that little girl was always in search of her sisters, but she was so hurt by others in the process that she withdrew herself completely. And she found it very hard to open her heart to others. You may not relate to my story, but what I do believe is that we've all been caged at some point in our lives. We've all experienced putting the world's expectations in front of our own. We've all said, I should be grateful because I have this. But the thing is it's not crazy to long for something that doesn't exist. We actually need to be asking ourselves, how much of this world was my creation? The beautiful thing about being caged is that we can be free. We no longer have to conform to what society says a woman should be and act like. Gentle, touchable, pure, present, likable. I say, fuck that. I want every single woman to find her confidence, to find her voice, to find her wild. I want you to mention your accomplishments, say your opinions, be unapologetic, and to stop doubting yourself. There's nothing entitled about a woman who knows what she wants and goes after it. We need to stop asking other people for their opinions and start listening to our intuition. I do believe that opportunities happen for a reason. I met Michelle at a women's health conference 2 years ago, and for the first time, I felt welcomed. She had this vibrant, inviting energy about herself. In the past year, in addition to meeting her, I've met some other incredible practitioners, and I finally felt seen and heard and welcome. It was the first time I felt like I belonged. And Michelle so perfectly said to me, you are a unicorn and you found your people. Sense of community and belonging is a primal need in all of us. We all seek it. And if you haven't found your sisterhood, I promise you that it awaits. So who am I? I am a graduate from the Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine. My background is in evidence-based medicine. I went to McMaster University and I double majored in biology and psychology. I then worked in research before attending CCNM. I did a lot of preclinical research, neuroscience, looking at the underpinnings of Fragile X syndrome. I loved it, but I knew that I wanted to have an impact one-on-one and work with other individuals one-on-one. My current clinical focus is in women's health, fertility, and hormones. I am a woman who craves deep connection with others, and I'm still in finding my sisterhood, as you've heard from my story. I truly believe that when women live their lives with purpose and meaning, they're able to create anything they dream of and more. This is a photo of my family and I. I have an older brother, and as I had mentioned, it was just the four of us that had immigrated to Canada. The rest of my family is still back home. And so we are very, very close, very tight knit, and I'm very happy and proud of that. We've remained close throughout all of our challenges that we've been through in the past 20 years. And it's been an amazing journey with them. And this next photo is a photo of my family. I recently got married and we have a little puppy, Pebbles, and I couldn't be happier. So that's us. So what is the Wild Collective? The Wild Collective is sisterhood and self-care. We spend 50% of our time in connection and sisterhood. We ask high vibration questions. We share, we normalize the human experience for you. It's a curriculum of women's health, the self-discovery to reveal who you really are. We make friendships and cultivate your health collective. If you felt like your rules are difficult to maintain on your one-on-one appointment with your healthcare provider, I want you to know that there is a collective of women who have your back, who have the same goals and intentions as you do, and that you can support each other. We've learned a couple of things about the Wild Collective so far. One, we've made the program to target those who are introverted as well, so that we can fill both cups, introverts and extroverts. No one is left out. We have activities that are suited for both personalities. And two, what we found is that when women do something that challenges them, old narratives and our old belief system can start to sort of come up for us. And that's the part of ourselves that wants to keep us safe and the same. So maybe by session 3 or 4, you might become fearful of coming, or you might not want to engage. But the reason I'm saying this is because I need you to know something. If you're looking for transformation, there may be moments of discomfort for you, but if you stick with us, the transformation will happen. This is a health curriculum that I think every single woman deserves to know about in order to be able to stand in her power and own her health journey. Connecting women to themselves and to each other. That is one of our main purposes. This is an older photo of when we used to be able to connect in person, and we hope that one day soon we can connect in person again. There is no competition among wild women. They're too damn wild to be caught in a tiny space of envy. Instead, they dance together and they allow good to flow abundantly to them. So let's get into some of the research. What is the research on community health? We know that social isolation is the #1 all-cause mortality, more than smoking, more than alcohol consumption, more than poor nutrition. Historically, women have spent so much time collaborating in a tribe, supporting each other, connecting. That's something that's been lost in our society. Elders were celebrated, they told stories, they shared experiences, and that was a very important way that other generations learned. We don't have to do all of it alone. We were never meant to. Some women fear the fire, and some women simply become it. And that's what we want for you. So loneliness and weak social connections are associated with a reduction in lifespan, similar to that caused by smoking 15 cigarettes a day, and even greater than that associated with obesity. That is huge. Loneliness affects 25 to 60% of older Americans and puts millions of Americans 50 and over at risk of poor health from prolonged loneliness. Loneliness is almost as prevalent as obesity. The more isolated people are, the less happy they are, and the brain function actually declines, as well as their physical health. We know that connection at 50 can predict your health status at 80. Social stress is the highest risk factor for chronic disease-related mortality. And we know that there's changes in expression of hundreds of genes as a function of physical and social environment that we inhabit. We are wired for connection as humans. It's our default social cognition. Our brains are actually built to ensure that we will come to hold beliefs and values of those around us. This is so powerful, and I feel that a lot of us are not tapping into this enough. And this is one of my favorite things that I love to talk about when it comes to the research, this idea of 3 degrees of influence. So let's say I have a friend of a friend of a friend, and we'll name her Nancy. Nancy lives in Australia. Nancy does something to increase her happiness. Let's say she signs up for the Wild Collective, she invests in herself, and she's surrounded by high vibration people, and she's happy. I don't know Nancy, she lives in a different country, but she has the power to increase my happiness by 6%, even though I don't know her. When people get a raise at work, it only increases their happiness by 2%. That is really important to know. And the same works in the opposite direction. When we have someone around us who's unhappy, they can decrease our happiness by 9%, and then an additional 7% for each unhappy friend. So who we surround ourselves with is so important to our health. We know there are other health impacts to loneliness and isolation. We know that it affects mental health. It increases anxiety, depression, suicide risk, cardiovascular health. So if we look at women who've had a heart attack, their risk of mortality or dying 1 year post heart attack is reduced by 50% if they have community. In terms of cognitive decline, we can decrease cognitive decline by 91%. Michelle and I feel like there's a personal responsibility for every single woman to know that. And we know that there's research also on cancer and morbidity and mortality risk that increases with loneliness and isolation. There was a specific study done with cervical cancer, and women who had cervical cancer and had high social attachment did better than women who had cervical cancer and had low social attachment. So there was 27% better clinical outcomes for women with ovarian cancer that had people around them that they connected to. There's clinical implications when it comes to health in our social environment and those that we surround ourselves with. Evidence indicates that loneliness heightens sensitivity to social threats and motivates the renewal of social connections, but it can also impair executive functioning, sleep, mental health, and physical well-being. Together, these contribute to high rates of morbidity and mortality in lonely older adults. If we own the story, then we can write the ending. Women are used to connecting in circles. This is really an amazing opportunity to connect with our feminine, that receiving side of ourselves, that listening to our intuition side of ourselves, especially when we're in such a masculine dominated society. One of the most valuable things that community can give us is normalize the human experience. When we hear another woman's story that's so similar to our own, it can transform that narrative for you. We think we're alone on this journey, but when you hear how similar you are to other like-minded women, it really transforms that journey for you. So this is an opportunity to learn, to have an empowered healthcare experience. It's an opportunity to be compassionate for yourself and for others, to reclaim your wild and ignite that fire within that's been there all along. So what are our intentions with the Wild Collective? We're creating a supportive community of like-minded women. We want to help women realize the strength of collaboration and the wisdom of community-based programming. We want you to understand your body and its natural rhythms. We want to cultivate intuition through the knowledge of your physiology. And we want you to live your life with purpose and meaning in mind. So who will benefit? I feel like this slide should say everyone.
Really should.
We know that those who experience anxiety and depression can definitely benefit from community. Those who have cardiovascular disease, those who've had a broken heart, those who have an interest to be involved in a community health initiative, those who crave more meaning, fulfillment, and purpose, and those who just have a curious mind and a wild heart. She was unstoppable, not because she did not have failures or doubts, but because she continued on despite them. So I'm going to invite Michelle to tell us more about the curriculum and what you're going to learn in the next 10 months.
So you're seeing a little bit of what this is about. We've shared our stories with you. We know the value of time in connection, and that is a really high priority for us in Wild Collective. Once we have that time and space to hang out in connection and high vibration conversation, we then shift into this fundamental women's health curriculum that we think every woman deserves to know in order to be the authority of her health, in order to advocate and really make good use of her time in her one-on-one visits with her clinicians, how to advocate and navigate the healthcare system and speak up for family members when you're not really sure what the best approach is. We weren't taught how to understand our body from a feminine place, how it speaks to us, how we connect that to our intuition. And that's what this program is all about. We have 10 amazing modules for you, and we're going to walk you through each one. We talk about our menstrual cycle as our superpower. We talk about detoxification, digestion and the microbiome, thyroid, vision, stress, breast health, vaginal health, mood, sleep, blood sugar regulation, and then we tie it all together with this concept of the divine feminine. My vision doesn't have a slide, but I'm just going to take a moment to talk about it. It happens halfway through. It's for you guys will be in September when we're resetting. We've just had a summer. And it's just time to really get clear on our mission and purpose. There are so many women who just don't have clarity on what that even is. They've never given themselves permission to dream, to think, to manifest, and we create that space for you. We've given you about 4 months of curriculum leading up about, trusting our gut and speaking our truth. So you're so ready to then get into that creative space of what would that perfect, beautiful life by your own design look like? We walk you through a beautiful meditation. We walk you through all of these activities that create a vision board for you, so that if you've never dreamed in that way before, if you've never put things on paper to see it every day to make sure that you manifest what your heart desires, then we're going to hold space for you with that. But we start off with the most magical evening, our menstrual cycle. This is probably our favorite thing to teach. I say that about every module, by the way. But it is a really, really powerful one, because women have not been taught that their menstrual cycle is their superpower. In fact, you've probably heard the contrary most of your life. And if your narratives right now are creeping up, but Michelle, I'm postmenopausal, what will this teach me? Women are cycled. Women are tied to the moon, which happens to actually be a 29-day cycle. It's no accident. We are rhythmic beings. Our brains and our body are different at 4 different stages. We want the opportunity to teach you your superpower, to own it. So you know when to have difficult conversations. So you know when to let yourself rest. Like Diana said, we've been living in a masculine model where we have been taught that we need to show up the same way every 24-hour period. That's not how we were designed. We are a 28-day monthly cyclical rhythmic being, and we want you to own that power. We're going to talk about your hormones, teach you what they mean, how your body speaks to you. If you have symptoms like PMS or perimenopause, we're going to talk about, what tests are available, what functional tests, how to articulate that, what is the, natural and integrative approaches to that, so that you can start thinking strategically, like what would align for your life? What do you want for yourself? And then you know how to actually have those conversations with your healthcare providers. We teach you a little bit about this red tent theory, and this is what happened. It was biblical. It's like when women would menstruate, of course, we would all sync up because we lived in a village together, and we would retreat from society and we would be cared for. We were allowed to rest and be nourished because life creation was the most celebrated thing. Elders would take care of you, impart wisdom, and teach you how to own your feminine power. We talk about nutrition for hormone balance. We talk about the functional tests, as I said, and really we tie this all into really leveraging this as your superpower, whether it's in your hormone health or in your life. We help you own this as your superpower. My detoxification. We talk about our organs of detoxification. We talk about seasonal eating. Is there a time in the year that would be best suited for our body to detox? What are some of the environmental factors and epigenetic implications of things that are going on within our body and how it interacts with the environment around us. Not only do we do a really good job of helping you understand detoxification as something your body naturally does anyways, we start to unpack more meaningful concepts in the connection piece. We start talking about what sort of negative emotions might you need to detox from? What sort of things are no longer serving you that you need to release in order to allow goodness to flow in? We then move into my digestion. We talk about the overview of the digestive system, what symptoms of digestive dysfunction look like. Ooh, that's a lot of D's. We talk about our microbiome. So all of these little microbes that outnumber us 100 to 1 to 1,000 to 1 that, dictate our, mood and our hormone production. We start to understand how we are the sum of all our parts and how they're all interacting together. We learn how to natural ways to optimize our digestion. We learn how much poop is normal. That's everyone's favorite question, actually, which is really funny. We learn about functional tests that are available to us. We're here to talk about and get rid of this whole line of fine or things being normal or no news is good news. We want you to be empowered in this healthcare experience. We want you to know how to interpret the labs. We want you to know what tests to ask for. You're in the driver's seat. You're the co-creator of your health, and we're giving you your power back through education. Then also through this connection piece, we actually start to talk about listening to our gut. What does it feel like? What does that mean? And how do we use that information as divine feminine beings? Next is thyroid. Again, a great module. They're all my favorite. We talk about how the thyroid gland is part of this female triad, how it interacts with our adrenal glands and our ovaries and this whole beautiful hormonal orchestra. We talk about functional tests, what tests to ask for, and why most women don't actually understand what's really going on with their thyroid health, even if they've been diagnosed with a thyroid condition. How does body temperature play a role with thyroid function? I've got to change this slide. I know the thyroid is the fifth chakra. I just forget to change this every time. We talk about fifth chakra blockages and speaking our truth. We talk about our integrative treatment options that are available, foods that support thyroid health. Speaking our truth is when we start to really get this going deeper. Now, when I say these things, if again, we were saying like if it's triggering, it feels a little bit nervous, you only ever have to share at the capacity you're comfortable with. You get so much from also learning from the wisdom of the collective. We've yet to meet a woman who doesn't want to share, but just so you know, if you're like, whoa, what are we going to be talking about? We're going to have conversations that are very high vibration, that are supportive, that help us to really start to unpack these things that are literally holding us back from speaking our truth, from trusting our gut. And then tying that all in with your menstrual cycle as your superpower. When are the best times to start tuning into that wisdom? We all have stress. Hello, global pandemic. If you live in Ontario, then hello, ever long lockdown. We know stress. We all inherently understand it. What we want to do is teach you a different way in how you understand how stress is affecting your body, how our stress hormone, cortisol is giving biofeedback to your body, and how many women who always tell me they're never stressed, how their body is actually responding to that, right? So we start to unpack and help you create clarity about how this is impacting your body. But then we start to really, beyond talking about functional tests available for testing and the dangers of chronic stress and how maybe women deposit weight differently when in times of stress, we really start to give you your power back and start to have shifts in perception. Again, if you were at our talk today, this is like the key thing is like, we can never change the level of stress we're exposed to, but what we can do is start to give you tools to play with so that you can start to shift your perception of what's going on around you. We then go into breast and vaginal health. I think these are poorly understood and articulated areas in women's health. Most women don't know how to do a breast exam confidently. We're going to show you, and that sounds really awkward, but we're going to teach you how to properly do that. We're going to teach you how to breast map and feel confident in that. We teach you about PAP exams and vaginal self-care. We talk about the natural interventions available, what that, flora being dysbiotic, like things like vaginal flora and chronic infections, what that can mean, and how do we get to root cause. We talk about essential nutrients for breast and vaginal health and how to optimize diet and lifestyle interventions. We have meaningful conversations about body positivity and body neutrality. We have really important conversations to make sure that women feel not only empowered with the health implications of that, but also start to really own their feminine beauty and everything that comes with being a woman. We talk about my brain and my mood. You could say your sexiest organ. It is so key for us to have really important conversations about mental health and cognitive health, anxiety, depression, this gut-brain connection, mindfulness practices, gratitude, cognitive decline, brain and mood foods. We talk about play and creativity, and tying those concepts in and really starting to navigate through this in a much more empowered fashion. Because when we, talk to women about what they want to see in terms of how they age, often it has a lot to do with maintaining cognitive function. So we want to help you understand how to best do that. Blood sugar regulation. This module got a beautiful facelift, so I probably need to update the slide a little bit about what you're going to get. Oh, no, we have it. We talk about protein for women. We talk about functional nutrition. There are therapeutic diets and things to consider, but we really go much more deeply into intuitive eating. My cat. We talk about reclaiming this relationship. This can be a very dysfunctional relationship for a lot of women because there has been such a combative, guilt-ridden relationship with respect to food and nourishment. And we want to help you have an empowered way through reclaiming your relationship. We also talk about blood sugar regulation and how that impacts all of our hormonal health, how we find that balance, how it contributes to stress and PCOS and other sex hormone related conditions, and how all of these work together. We talk about fasting for women. What does that look like? Intermittent fasting. We talk about functional tests for blood sugar regulation and how we start to reclaim this beautiful relationship with nourishment so that it becomes pleasurable for us. And then we have our final session, and it's this beautiful celebration of 10 months together in a collective, being deeply connected, having really meaningful conversations, having a whole new way of navigating your own health and your own body, a new way of stepping in and owning your bravery and owning your story. And we tie all those pieces through a total celebration of you and you being your own superpower. And truly at the end of it, you do know that the doctor of the future is you. You are in charge, you're in the driver's seat. We've had women be involved. Wild Collective has been around. We're about to go into our 5th year. Women who are involved in the Wild Collective who have learned how to navigate the healthcare system, have very high level conversations in our one-on-one visits. They know when something's off in their body. They know what to ask for. They also know the approach that they would like to take because they've taken their power back. They have this information available to them. Regaining lost instinct and healing injured instinct is truly within one's reach, for it returns when a woman pays close attention through listening, looking, and sensing the world around herself, and then by acting as she sees others act, efficiently, effectively, and soulfully. The opportunity to observe others who have instincts well intact is central to retrieval. For this retrieval, a woman needs a mother, a good enough, wildish mother. And I'm going to admit right now, I forgot to put Diana's photo in here, but this is Diana's face and she's stunning. We want to be your Wildish mothers for the next 10 months. We want to hold space for women. We want you to be a part of our Wild Collective group at large and start to engage and navigate through this healthcare system and through this connection piece with like many hundreds of women before you. So what do we do? We've told you about how this works, what our approach is, big piece being vulnerability, but what do we actually do in the Wild Collective? We meet monthly. You guys are going to be meeting with Diana once a month to learn various aspects about women's health. You guys have online community support for continued support in between our social gatherings. It's so important that you guys have a space that fosters connection, a safe space for you to ask your questions, to recipe swap, to check in with each other, to make sure you feel connected and supported in a time where we've never needed it more. You have monthly goals to accelerate in your health and take your life to the next level. It's where you share, listen, learn, and obtain wisdom. You are going to be partnered for added support in between sessions. You guys are going to meet. It's all based on Diana's ovulation. She cannot wait to teach you why she does that. And it will be at 7 to 9 p.m. monthly. On Wednesdays, right? So what is such a beautiful experience cost investment wise? The total investment is $5.99. If you sign up by midnight tonight, there's a discount code for $50 off. That discount code is Wild Spring when you put it in where it asks you to, or 5 payments of $149. What you get, the return on investment, the generous way Diana will show up, and I'm sure you guys know because you've seen her and watched her articulate, like she's one of the best speakers I've seen in a long time. You get 20 hours with her where she's going to educate, empower, hold space for you, answer all your questions, make sure that this is a transformative healthcare experience. If you were to see her one-on-one, that experience for you to get all of that done would cost over $6,000. I can say, and I know Diana can say to you, when we're in one-on-one, there's so much wisdom we have to impart, and there just isn't the time efficiency in order to do that. This has allowed for us to disrupt a medical model that needed much disruption. This allows us to provide affordable healthcare for all, to have all their questions answered so that by the time you go into your one-on-one visit, it is way more efficient. You don't need her, and you don't need to spend $6,000 to learn about hydration. Luckily, it's not going to cost you that to understand how to work and understand your whole body and how to navigate a medical system. The average person pays $199 a day at Starbucks. And it's actually swapped. Actually, the average person pays $199. I forgot to change it. The average person pays $199 a day for Starbucks, and the investment of the program is $199 a day. For 10 months, you are worth the cost of a tall pike. You can't afford not to do something like this, to say hell yes to yourself and transform and have the most meaningful connection experience. We've run this enough time to know how powerful this is for all that are involved, ourselves included. I'm willing to bet Diana's going to find the same amount of level of sisterhood as you all are as you go through this journey. Because everyone wants to know what's included in the program when you invest. You have lifetime access to all of our resources, our PowerPoints, handouts, activities, all of that is ready for you when you sign up, and you have it. You can access it at any time. So we don't expect you to remember all those thyroid labs we've taught you. You can go and recollect that information at any time. We actually also pre-record the curriculum for you so you can watch those as you want to learn. We have women who've been involved in our Wild Collective programming for the last 4 years. The amount of times that they tell me they go back and watch Menstrual Cycle to re-educate themselves has been invaluable for them. As soon as you sign up, actually, you get all of your dates immediately. We've stepped up in our technology. That will happen right away for you. Your dates, your times, all of that is going to be updated. You can see I need to change some things on some slides here, guys. I apologize. It's yours is Wednesday evening, 7 to 9 p.m. All of that information is correct in your welcome email. I'm going to let Diana tell you about all our incredible bonus offers.
So we have 3 bonus offers that we're going to be offering you guys that comes with the Wild Collective registration. The first bonus offer is one-on-one strategy sessions with me. So essentially what this means is that we'll set up a time to meet one-on-one and we'll get really clear on what your goals are for the duration of the next 10 months. We'll sit down together, discuss your goals, and we'll talk about how to best leverage the Wild Collective as you transform throughout this journey. So that's something that people have found to be very empowering. The second bonus offer is probably one of my favorite people, Adele Tevlin. She is mine and Michelle's mindset coach. She is phenomenal. Her training is in cognitive behavioral therapy and neuroscience. This session, she's going to be talking all about how to use your inner power, how to live life with purpose. She is a wealth of knowledge, and I'm so excited that she is offering this for you guys. The masterclass, I think, will be happening May 19th. So it'll actually be 17th. Start of our 17th? Yeah, sorry, 17th. So it'll be right at the start of our time together, which is really amazing to have those narratives and beliefs set from the beginning and to really have her help transform. So I'm really excited about that. And bonus offer number 3 is with Dr. Shamala Kuru. She's an incredible expert, a mindset coach, and she really helps women navigate and support high performance relationships. I'm so honored that both of these women have wanted to be a part of this program and really help women in the Wild Collective soar throughout this program. So all 3 of these bonus offers will be included in the registration.
If you sign up by midnight.
Yeah, if you sign up by midnight. So this is the link to sign up if you guys want it. It is posted in the chat.
And Wild Spring is the discount code for you ladies for an extra $50 off.
To join the instinctual nature means to establish territory, to find one's pack, to be in one's body with certainty and pride, regardless of the body's gift and limitations, to speak and act in one's behalf, to be aware, alert, to draw on the innate feminine powers of intuition and sensing, to come into one's cycles, to find what one belongs to rise with dignity, to retain as much consciousness as possible. So if we haven't made it clear yet, we have so much fun. You will find sisterhood in this community. This information is very high level, but you will have a lot of fun doing it. The real miracle of individualization and reclamation of wild women is that we all begin the process before we are ready, before we are strong enough, before we know enough. We begin a dialogue with thoughts and feelings that both tickle and thunder within us. We begin to speak in her voice, taking on her vision and her values. She who cannot howl will not find her pack. They tried to bury you, they didn't know you were a seed, but now it's your time to bloom. Wild women refuse to be captured. Michelle, let you talk about this photo with the Forever Wild.
So these are the women who started off with us 4 years ago. The very first launch, our very first group of 20 women. Some of them joined after, but majority of these women are from our very first launch, and they're still working together. We're going a little bit deeper with the work. But what has been demonstrated to me is that the sisterhood that is created here, that is co-created here, is powerful. It's electrifying. It has the capacity to help you transform your life and your narrative. And what's beautiful to me is that in every way, these women have radically shifted. They're either have left marriages that no longer serve them, strengthened their relationship, are now working the job that lights their soul on fire, are connected with their family in a more profound way, have a much easier time saying no, setting boundaries, speaking their truth, like so beautifully transformed through the power of sisterhood, through understanding how these things impact our health and why we have to take radical authority of our own life and responsibility to prioritize sisterhood in order to transform. So we want to thank you for coming and hanging out with us. We did amazing for our time management. So you guys you're welcome. We're going to hang out here if you have any questions for us. If you would like to know more, we would love to take the opportunity to address that. We really hope that you will join us and our collective and truly learn the power of connection and fundamental information that you deserve to know that is really difficult to deliver in any other capacity. I won't stop the share, but I'll pull out just in case there's any questions. Anyone have any questions or anything that we can address for you? Okay. Well, we wish you all a beautiful evening. If you have joined us from the 5-day challenge, then we look forward to connecting with you for one more day. Thanks to all that contributed in our amazing conversation. We were really impressed by the way you guys really showed up and delivered with respect to the topic of mindset and what you plan to shift. So thank you for that. Thank you for your time. It's not easy to take a moment out of your life, especially when everything is like all done in the same place and there's a lot happening. We truly value you and your willingness to take the time to hang out with us and learn a little bit more about the Wild Collective and what it is that we're doing to revolutionize the healthcare experience.
Thank you everyone for joining.
Good night.